I'm speaking with Smadar Lavie, who wrote a book. Now let's see if I get the title right. Wrapped in the Israeli flag.
Wrapped in the flag of Israel.
Okay, close. I'm sorry. And you gave a lecture here at Wesleyan, and I just wanted to ask a couple questions. First, we need a little vocabulary lesson for our listeners, viewers. Ashkenazi and Mizrahi. What's that?
The citizenship in Israel is divided to three main groups. 50% of the citizens in Israel are Jews who arrived from the Arab world, the Muslim world, and the Christian margins of the Ottoman Empire. And they're called Mizrahim, or it means Easterners. And Mizrahim is a coalitional term or an umbrella for Yemenis, Southern Italians, Greeks, Syrian, North Africans, Indians, Ethiopians, basically anyone who doesn't come from a Yiddish-speaking country. 30% of Jews in Israel are Ashkenazim, and these are Jews who came from Yiddish-speaking countries, and 20% are Palestinians with Israeli citizenship. They call themselves Arab 48 or 48 Arabs to commemorate the Nakba, and they are the remnants of a larger population that has been ethnically cleansed by the Zionist regime to make room for Israel that was carved out of Palestine.
And I should clarify, you're Israeli yourself.
I have Israeli citizenship and American citizenship, and I'm a Hafi actually. My father is Lithuanian and my mother is Yemeni, though when Israelis look at me, they don't see any traces of my blonde, green-eyed father. So I'm just being treated as a Schwarze, or a black in Yiddish.
So let's get into that. So from the lecture, the Mizrahim are very unhappy. They feel they're being mistreated and really racially discriminated. Did I get that right?
Yes. However, they love the state of Israel as a Jewish homeland for the Jews. And that's the biggest paradox of Mizrahi existence, that the state discriminate themselves against them to the point that I safely feel that I can use the term apartheid or intra-Jewish apartheid between Mizrahim and Ashkenazim. However, the Mizrahim take the scraps that the Ashkenazi hegemony offers them, and they have a love affair with the Jewish state in Palestine.
But you also said this summer things had gotten so desperate that before the Gaza fighting, there were some pretty radical things that were being talked about, being planned. What was that?
In the 70s, there was a movement called the Black Panthers. They took their name from the Black Panthers of Oakland. They were based in Jerusalem. And they were basically asking for racial and class justice, because class and race in Israel completely overlap. Most of the lower classes are Mizrahim, the upper classes are Ashkenazim. So there is a new group of younger Mizrahim who call themselves Halo Nechmadim, or the non-cute, because Golda Meir at the time called the Black Panthers of Jerusalem, all of what you could say about them is that they were not cute, as they put most of the ghettos and barrios of Israel on fire. So Halo Nechmadim, or the non-cute, planned to go to the streets and demonstrate against the cost of living, being priced out of their apartments, lack of public housing, having their homes foreclosed, and so forth. And they actually got organized to have quite a violent resistance. And whoops, then Gaza happened. And for most Israelis, they connect between Israel warmongering against the Arab world, nowadays it's mainly against Palestinian civilians, and internal intra-Jewish racial strife, that the war comes and creates a facade of national unity and people will not get their racial justice agenda, but they will think of themselves as the last frontier of Jews protecting the Jewish homeland.
And you implied in your talk that part of the reasons for the attack on Gaza had to do with preventing this Mizrahi uprising, if I might
Yes.
use that word.
Yes. It has. I trace in my book how social unrest that has racial basis inside the Jewish citizenry of Israel, that is Mizrahi Ashkenazi, when the leaders of the regime feel like the society is like starting to burst at the seams, they will create a provocation against an Arab country or against the Palestinians, or let a suicide bomber slip through or a kidnapper slip through, and then the whole country will be united under what we call in Hebrew Am Echad, Lev Echad, one people, one heart, and the social problems will go to the back burner, and it's a good way to squelch resistance that is race-related.
Last question. For people, human rights activists concerned about treatment of Palestinians, you had some advice, and let's see if I can get it right, that people should get involved with practicalities, not just talk about one state, equality, but really talk about what it would be like day-to-day practical matters.
Yes, yes. The two-state solution is being joked about in Israel as a J Street solution or the American Jewish solution or the White House solution. It can't be maintained because many Israeli cities which were inside the pre-67 border have grown as cancers into Palestinian territory, and there are many people who go there because of inexpensive housing, which is being subsidized. So Israelis know that the only way to go is one state. They have a choice between an apartheid state, which most of them will prefer, because that will preserve the Jewish dominance and hegemony over mandatory Palestine, and will allow them to be the superior group using the apartheid roads for Jews only to move between the West Bank and inside Israel, mainly in the center, because the center is where all the jobs are. When being pushed to the wall, many Mizrahim will say, okay, we have nowhere to go. Ashkenazim have gradually equipped themselves with European Union passports, and now there are about over 1 million Ashkenazim with European Union passports, because they know that they use it as a security parachute, because they know that Israel cannot continue to have these bloodletting cycles. Mizrahim don't have such an option. And for a Mizrahi, it's not an option to go back to Tunisia or to Iraq, given the dream of many people, say from North Africa, is to immigrate to France for jobs and education. So actually, Mizrahim support a one state. And if it's not going to be an apartheid state, they say, well, okay, give us like the practicalities of life in the one state so we know that our rights are secured. What's going to be
so
the
that
language?
They could continue to speak Hebrew and have their religion.
And live where they live, which is in the very big West Bank settlements. And these settlements will not go away in a two-state solution. So what needs to be done is to start thinking about how the return is going to happen, the Palestinian right of return, where the refugees will be settled. There is presently only one brave project of geographer Salman Abu Sitta called the Atlas of the Return. But what's going to be family law like, given that these societies are very conservative as far as marriage and reproduction? Is it going to be Jewish family law, Sharia family law, secular family law? What's going to be the laws of marriage and divorce, the laws of inheritance? How voting precincts are going to be designed? How people are going to have religious freedom? What are going to be the rights of sexual minorities like gays and lesbians? What are going to be the water rights? What's going to happen to all of the Histadrut or labor union big factories that were sold to private investors who were friends of the regime? They're probably going to be nationalized. Who's going to run them? What's going to be the law of land ownership? So for Mizrahim to think forward and have a vision, Palestinians need to talk about the practicalities of the one state. So, because for the time being, it's very worthwhile for Mizrahim to take the scraps that the Ashkenazi Zionist regime throws to them, because they don't have alternatives.
Thank you very much for talking.
Thank you.